just chilling at home, putting some content together for my blog on my website, and I've got a few posts lined up where I've actually posed various questions to AI, ChatGPT and things like that, prompting it and then editing the results just to get some ideas out of my head, but then getting AI to do the hard work of writing them. One thing I asked it recently was, what considerations does an artist or songwriter have when they're choosing someone to produce their record? I put this blog on my website today, and it's called Choosing the Right Producer for Your Record. And it's got sort of, how many? It's got like 10 different main sort of things that it's come up with. I think this might have been Google Bard that wrote this one. I can't remember now, but I've tweaked it and edited it anyway. Yeah, so I just thought I'd talk through that. I found some of them really interesting and made me think a lot about the people who I work with. Number one on their lists of the things that artists and songwriters consider when choosing a record producer is compatibility of vision. So yeah, you may choose a record producer whose musical sensibilities align closely with your own vision for the song or the album, or whatever. This ensures that the producer understands your intended style and can bring out the best in the composition. Sounds really obvious. I think, to be honest, that's true. There might be producers who work in one style and you're thinking, oh, that's aligned with what I want. Or maybe that the producer, and this is probably more true with me if I'm talking about myself, is that I don't have one particular sensibility or genre. It's more about I've got a huge passion for lots of different types of music, and over the last sort of 30 years or so of listening to music and really thinking about music, I've then kind of built up that understanding. So when someone brings a song to me, I feel like I'm quite intuitively able to kind of understand at least enough about it to jump on board with what they're doing and help them. There are thousands of producers out there and people doing different types of production, so it's really good to consider the compatibility that you have with that producer. Number two, previous work and reputation. So yeah, songwriters often consider a producer's past projects and their reputation. If the producer has a successful track record, especially in the songwriter's genre, so in your genre or your style, it can provide you with some confidence in their ability to deliver a high quality production. And I've put a question here like, what does success look like to you? So how would you consider a producer to be successful? Is it chart hits? Do you want to go for a chart sound? Are you looking for that? And therefore, do you want to go align yourself with a producer who's churning out chart hits? Do you think success looks like the producer being well aligned with the music style and making the right productions for the meaning of the song, etc., etc. In my case, I don't have any Grammys, I don't have any number one hits. So when my people come to me because of previous experiences that other people have had working with me, like my reputation as a person to work with, but also like listen to stuff I've made, and they can hopefully hear something in that and go, okay, yeah, there's some quality there and there's some things I like about stuff. So it doesn't always have to be like chart success and all that, but if you're going for that and you want to try and find if you can work with Adele's producer or someone like that, that's where you should be focusing. Obviously budget's going to play a big part of that. Anyway, so yeah, that's an interesting one. Number three, personal recommendations, which I suppose is kind of linked with reputation. Recommendations from fellow songwriters, musicians, or industry professionals could influence your choice of producer. Yeah, recommendations from fellow songwriters, musicians, industry professionals could definitely influence your choice. Hearing about positive experiences and results with a particular producer might influence you to work with them. It could be something very specific, like, they made me feel safe. They didn't have any particular ego. They took criticism really well, or they really worked with my ideas well, or they had lots of great ideas, or etc. Lots of different types of things to consider in terms of like what someone's recommending them for. It could be that they've got a really shit hot studio and you want to go to a particular studio. Yeah, it's various things, but essentially the overall picture is hearing positive experiences. If you hear negative experiences of what someone's like to work with, then you're like, maybe not then. But yeah, it's research on that one and talking to people and get those recommendations. Okay, number 4, it's put here collaborative chemistry. Going to sort of link that to the compatibility of the vision, but in terms of the chemistry, so it's about the working relationship really. The success you have in the studio during sessions, producers and songwriters need to have a good rapport and build a positive chemistry during those meetings and hanging out, and they might choose to work with, I put there, they might choose to work together primarily because of this. They might just be like, look, I want to hang out and have some fun, and the good music will happen as a result of that, rather than there being tenseness. Yeah, rather than things being tense or charged or frustrating or too slow or too fast. So yeah, building the right chemistry is really important. And then it's collaboration, really collaborative chemistry. So if you get that and compatibility of vision, then, you're rolling, you're in a good place. Number 5, specialization and expertise. So all producers are going to have expertise in some things. So what specific expertise would you be looking for? Is it a specific particular genre like we talked about before? Is it is it just a genre actually? Maybe it's specialization in sort of the equipment they've got. What else could there be? It could be that they've got expertise in guiding an artist. It could be personally, I work with quite a lot of new artists who are coming out early in their careers, and I've built up an expertise of how to make them feel comfortable, be a confidence booster, but also be sensitive and allow space and that kind of stuff. So that's become a little bit of an expertise area for me. But yeah, specialization, really important. Number 6, innovation and creativity. Don't know why I said it like that. Creativity. You might choose a producer known for pushing creative boundaries. Yes. Pushing boundaries, creative boundaries, introducing fresh ideas and experimenting with innovative production techniques to bring uniqueness to your songs. This is my favourite one, I think. Just bigging myself up. I do that as much as I can. Most projects I do, the best version of myself is where I'm able to push these boundaries. Now, there are people pushing boundaries way beyond what I'm doing, and that's my inspiration, really. So personally, if I'm looking to learn something, or if I'm looking to grow as a producer, I'm all about who's doing the most innovative things, where are boundaries being pushed and different ideas being combined and all that kind of stuff. Experimentation, big into that. And that might be really important to you, innovation, rather than someone who's doing the same thing over and over again, maybe just sort of dialing it in and just doing like cookie cutters type production and being like, yep, this is the template, this is what it's going to sound like. And then some people love doing that, and there can be commercial benefits to doing things the same every time, but not really how I roll. But in terms of that, certainly something worth considering. Number 7, budget and availability. Budget and availability, obviously very important. Practical things play a big role. I'm sure you've come up against this. Obviously, you've got a tiny budget. You've got to cut corners and figure out where you can actually do a lot of stuff yourself before you go to the producer. And their availability and their schedule needs to align. So it's pretty simple. Check out the budget and check out what they charge, and then discuss that really, and then look at the diary. So pretty basic on that. Geographical convenience. Yeah, cool. Are they around the corner? I work with people all over. Most of the people who want to come to my studio, obviously, come to Brighton, come to Hove. If they want to be there all the time for the collaboration and the recording, then obviously they need to keep coming back. So that makes it easier if I'm local. But having said that, I've had people come from London and other places and worked remotely. So if that's not important to you, then you can look further afield. The remote working thing is becoming more and more prevalent due to technology getting better at that, and also people being more open to Zoom and being dialed into sessions without being there. But you can't beat face-to-face, really. Specific production techniques is number 9. And again, covered a little bit of this in terms of their specialisation and expertise, really. But if there are specific production techniques, if you know about that kind of stuff, if you're a production geek and you're like, this guy is doing this, or like tape stuff, or maybe it's all analog or whatever, that could be something that's going to benefit your desired product. So yeah, definitely specific production techniques. And I think personally, I've got various different techniques that relate to me working in the box, but also I really love blending. I'm going to put in speech marks around vintage. I like classic different vintage techniques. So my production techniques are actually using software and plugins and methodologies for mixing to sort of generate a replication or an emulation of vintage sounds. But also, I would say things like atmosphere, space, spontaneity, texture, and using sort of different sound sources and manipulations are part of my production techniques. And when I'm listening to producers that I love, I'm trying to guess like, oh, what techniques are they using there? Like, how are they doing that? How are they getting that sound? And so really, like, if you are into that, if you're someone who's listening to records and you're picking up on the production, start to think about what type of techniques, and then you might want to find a producer that's using those techniques. Emotional connection is the final one, and that's super important, really, isn't it? Music is often deeply emotional, and you might choose a record producer with whom you feel a strong emotional connection, trusting them to handle your art with care and sensitivity. Wow, I mean, an emotional connection. I think being able to attune to the emotions in the moment and in the song and in the studio time. Maybe the emotional connection doesn't always need to be super strong for great stuff to be happening, but in terms of the key thing here is handling someone's art with sensitivity and care, and then that's all about listening, and it's all about patience and not having an ego, and just allowing space and making the artist feel safe. And then in terms of that, that will foster an emotional connection. But I think the music can, you can make deeply emotional music without having a deep emotional connection with someone. But provided you feel comfortable to be emotional, I think in that moment, the best stuff's going to come out of speakers really and get down on tape. But yeah, that's one I haven't really thought about so much. I always try and sort of be professional, kind, but also when you're recording and engineering and mixing stuff, you have to be focused, and sometimes you've got not a lot of time, so you just have to get things done in a certain amount of time. And I imagine like slowing emotional connectivity might be about slowing down a bit and just maybe going for a walk or going for a meal or just having more time in the process to really build that connection. And maybe that happens more over album projects rather than like single track projects, potentially. But yeah, ultimately, just the decision to choose a specific producer for your record is a combination of artistic, practical, and personal factors that together create the ideal partnership for bringing your vision to life. I like what it's written. Most of that I have rewritten and changed, but a lot of the content really came out of the AI prompt that I gave it. So yeah, nice one, AI. Let me know what you think of that. I mean, hopefully my insights helped. Are you thinking about getting a producer? What are you considering? Are there anything that's not on that list? Do let me know, and I hope this has been useful. All right, guys, take care.